Good morning, everyone. This is Jason. We're going to look at how to graph a linear function using a table of values. This is one of the first lessons in Algebra 1 that involves graphing. So we're going to kind of take a look at three examples just to kind of show you what the process is. Processes will be the same for all. It's just a matter of what points you pick. So let's take a look at this first function. So we got y equals 3x, and we want to build a table of values. And so in the table, we're going to pick an x. It doesn't matter which x you pick. We'll talk about that. Well, it does matter in some, but we'll talk more specifically about that. In this middle section, we're going to find y by substituting the x that we have. We're going to get the y to go with it, and then we're going to use that to create our ordered pair. So that's the process each time. So in this problem, y equals 3x, there's really nothing that I need to pick special points for. I'll talk about that in the next example. So I want to pick easy numbers. So I'm going to pick 0, 1, and -1. So anytime I just have a straightforward function like this, I want to pick some of the easiest numbers I can use. So 0, 1, -1 are the easiest numbers I can use. Here, I'm just plugging in those values in the middle. So right here, I'm plugging in y equals 3 times the x I picked, which is 0. And then I'm going to solve that. So y is going to equal 0. So that's going to give me a y of 0, which gives me an ordered pair of 0, 0, putting this x and y together. So that's my first point. And so I'll come over here and I'll plot that point, 0, 0. Okay, so the next one, putting in 1, same thing. I'm plugging in 1. Y equals 3 times 1. I'm going to solve that. Y equals 3 times 1 is 3. So that gives me a y value of 3, which gives me an ordered pair of 1, 3. So that's point 2. Point 3, I've got -1. Plug that in. So 3 times -1, that gives me -3. So that gives me a point there, y value of -3, which gives me my last ordered pair of -1, -3. So those are my points I'm picking. I'm going to plot those on my graph. So I've got 0, 0, 1, 3 is right there. And then -1, -3 is right there. Points are a nice straight line. Use your drawing tools to draw that. And so there is your graph. Simple. That's all you got to do. Okay, let's take a look at this next example. A little bit different, but process still the same. We're going to pick some x's. This time we're going to have to pick some compatible x's, and we'll talk about that. In the middle, we're plugging in that value that's compatible. I'm jumping ahead there. And then we're going to get our y. And we're going to get our ordered pair, which is the combination of the x and the y. So now here 0 will still be a good value. Almost every time you do one of these, 0 is a good number. So we're going to plug in 0, 4/5 times 0. That's going to give me 0. So that gives me a y of 0. So an ordered pair of 0, 0. Now, will 0, 0 always be a point? No. We'll see that in the next example. So here's the next one. Now, a compatible number, anytime I have a fraction as my slope, a fraction in front of the x variable, I need to use compatible numbers. So I need to use numbers that are compatible with 5 in the denominator. So I'm going to pick 5 and -5. Those are going to be my two compatible numbers to go with this. And we'll see why as soon as we plug this in. So let's plug that in. We'll get y equals 4/5 times 5. And so now what's 4/5 times 5? Let's come over here to the side. We got 4/5 times 5 over 1. Look at that. Those 5's cancel. That's what I want, because that gives me a whole number value, 4 over 1, which is 4. So that gives me 4. So that gives me a y value of 4. And so I've ordered pair of 5, 4. And if I plug in -5, we'll get similar results here. I'm plugging in that -5. Looking at my side work over here, I'm going to have 4/5 times -5 over 1. This time it doesn't cancel, but it leaves me -1. 4 times -1 is -4, which gives me my third order pair of -5, -4. So I'm going to plot those 2 points. I've got 5, 4, which is right there, and then -5, -4 right there. That gives me 3 nice points that I can draw this nice straight line through. So there you go. And then the final example, sometimes you're going to have some extra information here. So this time I've changed it up just a little bit. I've got a fraction. Okay, in our last example here, we've got a little different problem. We got y equals -2/3 x minus 5. You notice we have a number in front of our x, and then we have a number beside the x in our slope-intercept form. So here we're still building our table because that's what this lesson is about, building tables. So we're still going to pick some x's. We're going to substitute right here. We're going to find our y's. And then we're going to put together our xy. Okay, so here 0 is still a good value. For most problems, 0 will be a good value. We'll talk about those situations where it's necessary. But we're going to substitute in 0. 0 times anything is 0. Minus 5 gives me -5 for my first point. So I put these together. I got 0, -5. Okay, 0.2. Now, again, compatible numbers. What do I mean by compatible numbers? They have to work with the denominator. That's kind of what we saw in this last example. So here I'm working with multiples of 3. I want 3, -3, so on. So those are the two I'm going to pick as 3 and -3. And then if you have, for some situation, to pick more, like my next value would be 6 or -6. Okay, so let's plug in 3 here. We got y equals -2/3 times 3 minus 5. So do my side work, -2/3 times 3. The 3's cancel, leaving me with -2 right here. So over here, I've got -2 minus 5, which gives me -7. So that means my point will be 3, -7. Now if I plug in -3, we've got -2/3, doing my side work over here, times -3. This time the 3 doesn't cancel, it leaves me -1. So I'm multiplying -2 times -1, which gives me +2. So over here I've got +2 minus 5, which gives me -3. And so that leaves my third order pair of -3, -3. So those are the 3 points I'm going to plot. 0, -5. You see it's no longer at the origin. It's based kind of where that value is. That's going to be a hint for later lessons. So we got 3, -7 right there. And then we got -3, -3. You notice those points line up nice and straight. And then I just draw my line straight through those, and that's the graph. So I hope this helps you build those tables. That's how you're going to show your work, and then draw those graphs. So if you still need assistance with this, please let me know, and I'll get you some additional resources.